All right, so in part 6, we're going to create a variable called laps that's going to be able to keep track of each player's laps that they complete. So similarly to part 4, we're going to go to make sure that we have the right player selected. We have player 1. We're going to make sure we're in the data menu. And then in the data menu, we're going to click on make a variable. And this time the variable is going to be called laps, and it's also important that again we select for this sprite only because we want to have a player 1 lap and a player 2 lap. Press OK, and now you'll see player 1 laps show up down here. I'm actually going to move this to the bottom so it's not in the way. And now what we need to do is go to the data menu, and we need to give the player 1 a starting lap value of 0 so that every time the game restarts, no matter how many laps they had the last time, it always starts back at 0. So use that set variable 2 block again, so set laps to 0. We're going to add this to our starting script so it's always changed to 0. And then now what we're going to do is we need to make a stack of blocks that will check to see if player 1 is touching the orange starting line. So if it's touching the orange starting line, then we're going to change the value of laps by 1. So to do this, we're going to use something called an if-then conditional. So go to the control menu and look for this if-then block. We're going to drag that out. And we're going to create a condition to see if it's touching that orange starting line. So go to the sensing menu, and we're going to look for touching color, and this is the second block. So to change the color in the block, you click inside and you'll see the mouse becomes a little hand, and then you go over to the color that you want and click on it and it will update. We're going to add this condition into our conditional statement. So it says if touching the orange color, change the laps variable by 1. So we'll go to the data menu. So if we're touching the orange color, we want it to change laps by 1. And we're going to have this conditional run the entire game. So we're going to have it start when the green flag is clicked. So now it says when the green flag is clicked, if this player 1 is touching the color orange, it will change laps by 1. So let's go ahead and click the green flag and see if this works. No, my laps didn't change. Well, that's because an if-then conditional will only run one time unless you tell it to run more than once. So that means we're going to need a way to repeat this conditional multiple times, actually the entire time we may play the game. So we're going to go to the control menu. We're going to get a forever loop because we want, and put this around the if-then conditional, because we always want to be checking to see if we're touching the orange line. So let's go ahead and try again. All right. Oh my gosh, and you can see my laps are changing crazy even though I haven't gotten that many laps. Okay, so that's going to be a problem. Well, what we could do is it probably can't make it around the track in about 5 seconds. If I'm making it that fast, I'm probably cheating. So we could add a wait block and say change laps by 1 and then wait 5 seconds because someone's not going to get around the track in faster than 5 seconds. So I'm going to add this wait block and I'm going to change it to 5. Let's restart. All right, my laps went back to 0. Now let's see. Great, changed by 1. And now that it's been 5 seconds, it'll change again. So this is wonderful. The next thing that you're going to do is we can either leave this as its own separate when green flag is clicked event, or we can add this to our starting script. Oops. Up here. Get rid of that, and then we have fewer flag click events. So now it'll say whenever the game starts, point in the right direction, go to the starting location, set the speed to 7, set laps to 0, and then we're always going to be checking to see if we're touching the orange starting line. So now that I've done this for player 1, go ahead and do it for both player 1 and player 2, and you can always come back and rewatch this video if it's confusing.